My biggest 2 words are what's possible.
Yes.
What's possible? Shit hits the fan, what's possible? Yeah, relationship goes south, what's possible? Business slows down, what's possible? I get sick,
Because if you don't think like that, then you're just going to end up beating yourself up. Jet Xavier, welcome to One Life Club.
Hey mate, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
It's been 3 years.
I know.
Pre-One Life Club.
Yes, definitely. I know your story and I know what you do. So a lot of people will see you as a high performance coach. And I just love your story and what you went through to be where you are today. One thing I always say to people, your mind is your best friend and your biggest enemy. You work with a lot of amazing people. First question I have for you is, how do we keep our head on the right track?
Yeah, very good question. I was going to say it's a challenge, but it's not really a challenge, it's a choice.
Yes.
Yeah. We make a decision on how we react to things. I always say our behavior defines us. Yeah.
Yes.
So people say, for example, people say, "Oh, I'm happy." You know, you say, "How you going?" "Yeah, I'm good. Everything's right. Everything's fantastic. I'm happy. Life's good."
Yes.
And then they lose their shit standing in Coles in a line because
Yes.
they're impatient. They can't wait, or they get stuck in traffic and they get angry.
Correct.
How you react to something defines you, and how you react is a choice. You know, the Viktor Frankl Holocaust story,
Yes.
you know, about the in-between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space, there's a what? There's a choice.
Yes.
So the people in the camps, between the horrors that were happening in their response, there was a space. And in that space, some made the choice to be people who thought there was possibilities, good possibilities, and they're optimistics. And other people in between that stimulus and response made a choice to go, it's over.
Yes,
We're finished. Both in the same situations, both going through the same horrors, but both making a different choice.
Yes.
And a lot of times, Emil, we relinquish the responsibility around our behavior and our responses and our attitude. It's as if we're being possessed. There's an entity inside us and it's making me angry, and you give me the shits, and the camera guy's, you know, he's on my back and all this sort of stuff. No, it's our responsibility.
Yes.
You know, so managing this thing up here, which is probably a full-time job for most people, takes one little choice in that moment of crisis, whatever it is, to make it different.
I look forward to this interview because I have so many questions, because to become best performer in anything we do, and that best performer could be how do you become a best friend or best husband or best boyfriend or best in business or whatever you're doing. It's just it's a topic that I actually wanted to discuss with somebody, and you're here today, which I'm excited. Before we start, who is Jet Xavier? Tell us who you are, what you do, and how can people that are watching this really benefit, not just from this interview, moving forward?
Well, at the moment, I'm still 5'10", 83 kilos. And 57 years old, and mate, I'm having the time.
If you look like 57, I'm looking like 107.
Mate, I'm having the best time of my life. I'm in a great relationship. I live on the Gold Coast. I've got a couple of kids who live in Sydney. Business has never been better. Life has never been as good as it is. Mate, I'm just happy to be alive. I'm just grateful that, you know, we get a chance to play every day.
And to breathe.
Create, breathe, spend time with people like yourself. We get to do what we love to do. I mean, life's a gift, so I'm really happy and, you know, so grateful for that. But it wasn't always like that, and I guess that's, you know, what we're here to talk about. You know, we talked earlier about adversity and resilience and tenacity and, you know, how people overcome stuff. And, I mean, I grew up in a pretty normal Sydney family back in the 70s, in Australia in particular. Mum was an alcoholic, my dad was an alcoholic, my grandmother was an alcoholic, there was a long line of alcoholics. I had a little sister. We grew up in the western suburbs in Sydney. We were called the fibro battlers because most of the houses were made out of fibro. And our football sides were just made up of fighters. So we're just battlers and fighters, and, you know, we got through. Mum left when I was 6, and my grandmother came to look after me. So I never really had a mum, never grew up with a mum.
Which is really not for any, it's not a good thing, I guess, for any young kid.
No, I mean every boy needs his mum.
Yes.
You know, and you know, I guess.
I still need my mum, and I'm 43.
Yeah, mate. I still need my
Yeah,
mum, and I'm
yes.
57. But unfortunately, she's not there anymore. And you know, part of not having a mum in my life, I went looking for her in every relationship with other women
Yes.
that I could find, and always being disappointed and had this
Yes, yes.
expectation. I mean, that's another conversation about relationships, but I guess that's what happens to males in particular who don't have that bonding with any mum or female type in
Yes,
their
yes.
life. And so, you know, I think that plays on you now. You sort of bring it up. It's sort of, you have that inadequacy around what's wrong with you as you grow up as a kid, and you start to doubt yourself pretty early on in life. I guess the dynamic of living in the western suburbs in Sydney in the 70s with, you know, an alcoholic family was, you know, with nothing was, you know, pretty rough. And my dad was a violent alcoholic. He was a hard man, you know, truck driver, farmer, shearer, that type of person.
Yes,
and,
yes.
you know, he used alcohol to get through his life at that
Yes,
stage.
yes.
And, you know, it wasn't.
He had a
not-
hard journey
he
himself.
he had a pretty
Yeah.
bloody hard journey himself. So I sort of understand the, you know, the dynamic that we sort of lived
Yes.
in. But at the time, I was bloody angry, mate. You know, I guess when you're growing up, seeing other kids that you're going to school with, families sort of be a bit different and
Yes, yes.
caring and loving and nice, and
Yes.
you know, you think something's wrong with you and what's happening. But at the same time, you think it's normal as well.
Yes,
You know, it's normal to have alcoholism. It's normal to have domestic violence. It's normal to have nothing. It's normal to go to school with no food. It's normal to be, you know, coming home to a tomato sauce sandwich or a
Yes,
pot of stew your dad cooked, which is, you know, what we pretty much ate
Yes, yes.
for a number of years. But when you grow up in that environment, you get to a point where you sort of have enough as a kid.
Yes.
About 12, 13, I was wagon school, starting to take petrol and lighter fluid and glues, and starting to knock off cars and do petty theft in shops
Yes,
and that
yes.
sort of stuff, and run away, and police would get me and bring me back, and my dad would belt me and I'd run away, and that sort of become a bit of a pattern till I was 14, and I thought, you know, I'm sort of big enough to take care of myself.
Yes.
I remember taking my dad out the back one day and having a blue, you know, that's enough. I'd had enough.
Yes,
And
yes.
he was a boxer when he was younger, so he sort of belted me up a bit. But I sort of established the fact that this is it, fucking no more.
Yes.
Yeah? And I sort of started to get a bit of belief in who I was,
Yes.
or at least getting out of that situation.
Yes.
Because for most people who grow up in that environment, you know, you always consistently feel put down. You always consistently feel not worth anything. You're always trying to prove yourself. You're always trying to please people.
But and there's a two types of, I guess, people or kids when you are growing up and having the hard times. You know, I think age 15, 16, it's really where things like that can make us a lot stronger.
Of course.
But unfortunately, fortunately
Yeah.
for you, made you
Yeah.
look strong, and everything that has happened to you made you who you are today. But there are people that never get back up again.
No.
The life beats them, specifically when you're 12, 13, 14, 15
Yeah.
years old. You don't have life experience. You're not as tough as you are today.
Yeah.
When somebody says something today, okay, whatever, buddy, you know, you don't like me, move on, I'll block you, who cares?
Yeah.
But when you're 14 years old, you know, you get affected
Yeah.
by, you know, not just physical abuse by anybody, but somebody telling you, hey, you're not good enough. A lot of people take that personally and they never recover from that. And that has a massive impact throughout their lives. And so one thing is, you know, you growing up there, your life journey, you always been battling yourself. When did you decide and felt that you can use your life journey to start business that you are in today? I know it happened 11 years ago, what you said before. How come you felt that is you?
Well, I guess from 20 onwards for about 15 years, and I'll tell you what happened when I was 14 as well after, but from 20 onwards, I sort of walked around in a daze in life.
Yes.
I didn't really have any goals, ambitions. I wasn't brought up like that. Because at 14, I was just angry.
Yes. Yes.
At 20, I was lost.
Yes.
At 14, I'd left home, I'd left school. I was living in a pub when I was 15.
Yes.
By the time I was 16, I was a heroin addict, carrying a sawn-off shotgun around doing armed hold-ups.
Yes, yes.
Homeless. I was suicidal. My girlfriends were prostituting for heroin. I was bashing people in toilets for money. I was involved in criminal activities to get my drugs. So at 16, 17, I was punishing myself severely because I thought I wasn't worth anything. There was nothing. And that would have continued, and you're right, for some people that does continue and that's their life.
Yes.
Fortunately and unfortunately, something happened when I was 17 that totally changed my life, and it's part of the reason why I got into business 11 years ago, even though it happened when I was 17. I went down to a park with my girlfriend at the time and injected heroin, and I woke up the next day unconscious. I was in intensive care, handcuffed to a bed under police guard. If they didn't find me that morning, I'd be dead. I was handcuffed to the bed and under police guard because my girlfriend died the night before from the heroin overdose as well. And I was facing 8 years in prison for a manslaughter charge. So I'm 17, my girlfriend's died next to me, I'm in intensive care, they don't know if I'm going to live, and that's where my anger's got me as a teenager. Unfortunately, obviously, I lived, went to prison for a number of months, got out on bail, $10,000, went in front of a jury for 5 days and got found not guilty of manslaughter. And then now I'm 20. And I've got nothing in life to tell me that I'm good enough to do anything, no inspiration, not reading books. I left school at 14, all that type of stuff. Everything about me said, you're going to fail. Yeah?
Yes.
Everything about me said what you said. I'm going to go off and stay on drugs and become an alcoholic and totally lose my life. Fortunately, I broke from drugs and alcohol in the scene, and I went totally the other way. But for 15 years, like I said, I was in no man's land. Yes. There was nothing, no one inspired me, nothing to live for.
You couldn't really find yourself.
I didn't know myself. Got married, thought that would work.
Yes.
But I was just angry in the marriage. That ended in a divorce. And I just was lost. And then one day I was working back in King's Cross as a youth worker and in a crisis centre. So we house young kids from 12 to 21 in the most horrific situations they were in. We took them in and tried to help them get counselling and help and housing and that type of stuff. And I'm doing a night shift and I'm lying on a couch and I'm watching the television and Tony Robbins comes on. And he's like, where's your life going? Come goal setting. And he was promoting the Unleash the Giant weekend thing. And I thought something happened in that moment. Something sort of, he started, what are your goals? Where are you going in life? What are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I'm doing nothing. I'm going nowhere. I'm no one. And so I thought, I'm going to go to this thing. 3 days, Tony Robbins, 16 hours a day, walking on fire. That was the moment. Yeah. That was 97, 98. That was the moment. I think I was 39 or something. Up until that point, no personal development, nothing, no good peers around me, no one. Totally isolated from the world in the sense of I'm not going anywhere. Tony Robbins 3-day weekend, pop out of the end of that, become a vegetarian, start reading, start listening to tapes that we had back then. And I thought, I'm going to do something. And so I thought, I'm going to try and make some more money. I'm getting $12 to find dead kids in a youth centre. How can I make some more money? I'm starting to think, well, I can make some more money for my family. I become an aerobics instructor. Wear a bit of lycra and a singlet, make the ladies happy, dance a little bit.
And you look fit.
And you look fit. $40 an hour.
Yes.
So there I am, $40 an hour. Then I heard personal trainers make $80 an hour.
Yes.
Like, that's not hard to do. They just count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I started making it. And then I started training people like yourself who are totally uber successful in businesses, and they started to push me. What are you doing with your life? Where the fuck you been? What's been going on with your life? Why aren't you further along the track? Why haven't you done something? And so people like yourself that I was training, there might be 1 minute it might be the president of a Hells Angels chapter, the next minute it might be the CEO of a bank, the next minute it might be the big owner of a company. And it's like they're all seeing something in me that I wasn't seeing. And that environment,
But I think also you made that move when you went to Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I made the move.
And then after that you made a move. Okay, I'm going to be this instructor, then I'm going to be personal trainer. So you were looking how you
But I think each move made me stronger.
Correct.
I think you need, you just need that catalyst.
And you're also meeting different people, communicating all the time. So you're opening yourself to different opportunities too.
Well, the more the influence, the more I opened up.
Correct.
The more I wanted it. Because I thought, fuck, how long has this been going on for?
Correct.
What have I done with my life? I'm like 40 now, 41 at that stage. What's going on? Anyway, I become a life coach. And then I thought, I'll go into corporate coaching and I'll be training someone like yourself and they'd be talking about, my culture and, the leadership. And I go, I can do leadership stuff. They go, oh, can you? Oh, yeah. In the library looking at books and come back with a program for them. And so I just winged my way through corporate for a couple of years and learnt everything that I need to know. And then I realized from people that were successful, they said, hey, you need a mentor, you need a coach. And I thought, that costs money. Yeah, it's worth money. So I spent about 60 grand over a number of years on my own coaches and mentors. And one in particular taught me about niching and focusing on an industry and going really deep rather than really wide. And I thought, well, what's an industry that I've been? I've been in cleaning, IT, cars, whole different range of industries, and a little bit of real estate. And I thought, real estate, I've been doing all right in there. A couple of people I've been training, that's been going all right. And I thought, all right, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to put all my eggs into real estate. I remember sitting for 6 months in my ex-girlfriend's lounge room making calls to people like yourself. Hey, Jet Xavier, coach, real estate coach Australia. Jet who? Don't know who you are. 6 months, and I thought, this isn't going to work.
And it's not easy starting any business.
And then I got a couple of bites, and I got known, and I had a couple of events, and it started to grow. And I said to myself, I'm going to stay in this as long as it keeps growing and opening up. And when the time comes that it stops, I'll go and do something else. And so I made a decision. Real estate's going to be my industry, and for the last 11 or so years, I've been totally committed every day to helping people. You
have clients that are doing extraordinary things that are great, but I actually got goosebumps thinking about what I'm about to ask you. There are people that are going through hard times, and I've been there myself. You've been there yourself. And when you are going through hard times, you only see black. You only see the tunnel, and in your mind, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just dark. And you are perfect example of going, I mean, your tunnel couldn't be any fucking darker, right?
So it's dark because there's a wall at the end of it.
Your tunnel really almost had no light, right? But you're perfect example that there is a tunnel on other there is a light on the other side of the tunnel. So anybody that is going through hard times, how do they get out of it mentally?
Now where I sit at 57, having done all that and gone through that.
Because you've seen it.
Having done that, now it's easier for me to go, it isn't a dark tunnel anymore. I just need to find a light to get through it. So I give it a different perspective now. Back then it was the end, It was all over and finished.
But people that are going through that tunnel right now.
My point is, the power of the mind is such that our interpretation of something gives it life, It gives it meaning. So if the tunnel is dark and it's bad and it's hard and it's challenging and it's hopeless and there's nothing's going to happen, that's what the tunnel's going to look like. But if we can start at least to go, hang on a second, might be an opportunity. There could be a possibility. This isn't as bad as it seems. Someone else in the world's going through something 10 times as worse as me. Perspective is a gift. And I think we don't have enough perspective. At least I didn't have enough perspective because it was woe is me, victim, poor me, everyone else is to blame, no responsibility. To learning over the last few years in particular that when I get a setback, a challenge, hard times, this isn't going to happen, that falls over, I don't look at it like that anymore. So I've trained myself, and this is what cognitive behavior therapy does a lot of. It gets you to rewire the way you think about something. And so a challenge to you maybe mightn't be a challenge to me anymore. An obstacle to you mightn't be an obstacle to me. Something that's shit and I've just lost everything might be, okay. Keep going again. So it takes the sting out of it. So the advice is, if you're going through hard times, we know it ends. We know someone else is going through worse than us. We know it's a time for us to look at what we're grateful for, not what we're angry about. And that way we can control the situation. Now, obviously it's on a spectrum. If you're down the end and you're suicidal, well, those types of conversations are redundant for that person who's stuck
Yes,
there.
yes.
That's a different conversation. But if you're like most of us who are in the middle of surviving and thriving down here, and we sort of oscillate between, oh, fuck, it's a shit day and things aren't going right, to, hey, yeah, I'm great, everything's awesome. For the majority of people here, it's an interpretation of the situation that we give meaning to. If I have an argument with you and I get angry at you, I'm interpreting that you're meaning something, yeah? You might be screaming at me, you might have a knife. It's up to my decision to go, well, I'm going to get threatened and upset and scared of this person, or I'm going to be cautious, wary, and look for the next move to get myself out of this situation. Two different perspectives, two different
100%.
interpretations. And that's the power of the mind. It's like the placebo effect. We can give people things that aren't drugs that make them feel like they've taken drugs. They've interpreted it differently. That's the power of how our mind actually works. So what I try and teach now to the people that I work with, and particularly when we talk about real estate and ages, oh, this isn't working, that's fell over and this isn't going on, and all the wasted energy that's expended, if you interpret it differently, you're back up and you're on a lot quicker than if you're stuck in the negative interpretations that you had of it in the past. One is going to master you, the other is going to free you.
Yes, yes.
But that's easy for me to say it here.
Yes.
Fucking, it's 57 years of busting
But also
my ass.
you've been there and you've
Yeah.
seen it,
Yeah.
so you're probably more qualified than anybody to talk about things, how people can actually, gain some strength, I guess.
It's always the perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always the perspective. It's not as bad as we think it is. And I'll say, unless it's grief, that's a different emotion.
Yes,
yeah,
of
grief
course.
is different. If you say, well, that's only grief, just have a different perspective. I think that's you've just been an arsehole. That's a whole different. That
Correct.
suicidalness, the grief type of thing. But for most of us, particularly in our country, we're complaining, we're whinging, something's hard, something hasn't worked for
And
us.
we all have food on the table.
Yeah, we all got food on the table.
Yes.
And if we haven't, we can go and get some for free at
Yes.
a handout. I think, I've really worked hard, Emil, at interpreting and having a different perspective, particularly when those stress, emotions, anxiety, disappointment, negativity,
Yes.
upset, challenge, setbacks, all of those types of things, I've worked really hard to try and rewire my approach to interpreting those things and giving them meaning. Yeah? It's more like it's a gift to me.
Yes.
It's like change. Some people shit themselves around change. Other people
Yes.
go, oh, fuck, fantastic.
It's fresh.
This is
Move
awesome.
forward.
Let's do something. It's like, financial distress. I've nearly been bankrupt a couple of times. I mean, that's not a good place to be.
Yes.
I've nearly had to hock the TV. I've nearly had to give away the car, a whole range of things. My interpretation is the end of the world. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, going through similar things just in business and in life, it's like, okay, this is interesting. What's this here to teach me? What do I need to do? How do I need to rebound? How do I need to get up? How do I need to respond to this? Because if I respond how I used to, I'm going to be stuck. It's going to master me. But if I respond differently and go, hang on a second, there's a gift in this somewhere. Yeah?
Yes, yes,
My
yes.
biggest two words are what's possible.
Yes.
What's possible? Shit hits the fan, what's possible? Yeah, relationship goes south, what's possible? Business slows down, what's possible? I get sick,
Because if
what's
you don't
possible?
think like that, then you're just going to end up beating yourself up, and you think about the problem more than
And
what's
that's how we're
possible, what the
conditioned.
solution is.
That's how we're conditioned. And I was conditioned like that, like most people are all their life. And I am just glad that I got great people around me.
Yes.
I become a student of life again and personal development and growth. I got around good people who taught me great things, and they challenged me to be the victor, not the victim.
Yes.
To be the one that's above the line, looking at where's the solution, not below the line, where's the problem.
And I think most people, that's the trap that they end up being. They focus too much on the problem than the solution. Fear.
Yeah.
Fear is holding a lot of people from making a decision to do whatever they want to do in their life. But there's one thing that I have learned is time is so valuable.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was 23 years old. I'm 43 now.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be 63, then I'm going to be 83, and the life is just,
It's going fast.
it's going fast. So there's a lot of people, they could be in a bad relationship. They might have a job they don't like, or they have a great business idea, but fear is holding them back to start. how do we get rid of fear?
Yeah.
Because you coach, mentor so many different people. And what is a recipe to get rid of the fear?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's so many different types of fear. The way I've gotten through fear is little bits at a time.
Yes.
Yeah, just little bits at a time. I mean, unless I'm stuck and my back's against the wall and I have to fight, I generally rather just sort of chew away at it.
Yes.
Yeah, and sort of get used to it and get near it. But in saying that, there's a time that you need to just take massive action as well.
Yes.
You know, so for example, 2017, I'm sitting on the balcony of my rented unit in Potts Point, King's Cross in Sydney. I've got a Corona in my hand. I'm looking at the Harbour Bridge from my balcony, looking at Centrepoint Tower, the Opera House. I'm thinking on the bee's knees.
Yes.
But underneath that, I had a binge drinking problem.
Yes.
I was in massive debt from just irresponsibility. I was 17 kilos overweight. My 9-year relationship was just going south. I wasn't talking to my kids. My business, I wasn't just turning up. I was just coasting along. So every aspect of my life was pretty much shit. And I decided to change it, to do something about it. But I was shit scared. I was shit scared of doing anything because I was comfortable.
Even you had that fear holding you back.
Yeah, I was shit scared of doing something. But for whatever reason, I don't know how I did it, I just said, fuck this, I'm just going to make some difference. I can't go back to my past because that's where I was headed. I can't go back to nothingness. I can't go back to just existing.
And also, you always say, we can't afford to lose the day today. Because if you lose today, I mean, tomorrow is the day that we never lived before. But once the day passes,
it's gone.
We are a day closer to being 10 feet under.
It's gone. But I was so scared of making change, But I got myself I went to AA, I got a financial plan, I started to exercise, I made the decision to sell everything that I owned, my Harley, my car, everything.
Not the Harley, I love
I sold
bikes.
the Harley.
I'll sell everything, then touch the Harley.
I sold the Harley. I was brave enough to leave the relationship. It was a great relationship, but I knew that it wasn't moving the way we wanted it to. And I just totally took massive action on change. I moved to the Gold Coast. I rented a unit I hadn't seen. I just did everything that was the opposite of what I was doing. And the last 5 years has been the best 5 years in my life. So the point is, there are two elements to dealing with fear. A little bit at a time. Yes. Expose yourself to it. Yeah.
I think such a great advice when you put it like that, because a lot of people will say, hey, if you're scared of something, just say, fuck it, just do it. But it is a big decision.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you need to go, fuck it, just do it.
Yes, but at the same time, is making that step every day.
It's called exposure therapy, yeah? If you've got a fear of snakes,
yes,
you slowly get exposed to them. And that's really...
I have fear of snakes and you can't help me with
that
one.
I fear caving, getting stuck.
Yeah,
if I was ever going to go caving...
Other day I did see a snake in my backyard, and even if it was green, I was like, fuck this, I'm running away. There's no anything can ever stop me from seeing them.
In April, I'm doing a vision quest. So it's 4 days in the wilderness by yourself, just water.
Well, I'm telling you.
And my mind...
You can invite me to many things. There's one thing, I'm going to block your fucking phone for 4 days. And
my mind is going, oh my God, fucking snakes and spiders and crawlies. So I'm already trying to get my head a little bit at a time around it. But if I was going to go caving, which I'd never do, I'd do a little cave and then I'd do a little one. But there are other things to take massive action. It's just game on. You just got to do it. You just got to cut the fucking cord, draw the line, get across it. If I didn't do that in 2017, we wouldn't be sitting here talking. I wouldn't have the life. I got out of massive debt. I just bought a house. I'm 57. Just got a fucking great house. I got a great partner. I'm 17 kilos lighter than I was.
And it's never too late to make a decision.
Never.
To move forward.
Never too late.
Never too late. Otherwise, time will pass. You train a lot of high performance. And a lot of us are... we had a discussion before this filming. We are just go. It doesn't matter if it's real estate or any business. To be a high performer, we are constantly under pressure. Constantly. Because you keep pushing yourself all the time to be better. How can we sustain a high performance and not be burned?
That's the global question right now. I mean,
How do we
yeah.
balance? How do we breathe while we are performing high?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I always say, till about 2 years ago, I felt like I am just running, sprinting so hard every day that I didn't have time to stop and just, there's a blue sky, there's a fresh air, I'm breathing, I'm alive. If you're almost not even a human because you're just running. What is the recipe to balance and breathe?
Yeah, I mean,
and still fucking perform high?
Yeah. Still, well, most business leaders that I work with, our goal is how do we hit it out of the park every day in business, but have less impact on what's important. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing sexy about having all the money in the world, yet everything else falling apart.
Yes.
But that's the lie that we've been told, right?
Yes.
We've been told the hustle and grind lie. Now, I know you like a bit of hustle and grind, but I'm more of a flourish and thrive type of guy. Yeah. Because the lie we've been told is that success will only come if we burn ourselves out. It'll only come if we work 500 hours a week. It'll only come if we don't see our kids. It'll only come if we don't look after. It'll only come if we sacrifice everything. That's not true. It might have been true a couple of generations ago, or even at the end of this generation that we're in, but it's not true anymore. The people that are coming through, the newer generations now, are thinking smart. They're going, how can we do this in half the time, make triple the money? Right?
Yes.
So there's something that's happened to our society, men in particular, that have been sold the lie that wealth, status, and materialism is the only measure of success. It's a measure of success, and there's nothing wrong with those things, yeah? But when it comes at the expense of what's important to you, you've got to ask what's wrong with this model.
Yes.
So I work really hard and go, let's get you the most successful business in the world.
Yes.
Let's do that. That's the game we're playing, right?
Yes.
That's the fun, right? But let's keep your marriage together. Let's make you a good dad. Let's keep you healthy.
Yes.
You know, let's keep you having some time out. Let's keep you a person who can switch off and on when they need to and is not mastered by their job, but masters their job.
Yes.
And so we've got to create what I call sustainable leadership, yeah? And that's really important because most people, you know, they're like a shooting star. They look fantastic and awesome and it's amazing in the skylight, but then it just burns out. There's no longevity in that. There's no sustainability. And sustainability is the sort of buzzword now in high performance. It's how can we outlast and keep going and be at our best. It's like people don't manage time anymore, they manage energy. Yeah?
Yes.
It used to be all about time management. Got your list, you got your diary, you've got everything sorted out. It's not about that, it's about energy management. If you really put it down, you could do more in 4 hours in a day than you can do really in 8 using the unsustainable model. But using a sustainable model, you're using your energy more effectively. So it's a stereotype, yeah? That success is won by doing this. And it's failing us. You know, there's a couple of research things I read lately that the two major things leadership, particular business owners and people in business are facing are managing change, yeah, and burnout. So leaders are trying to build great companies around the world, and one of the biggest things and challenges that they're having is burnout. So you've got to go, what's wrong with the model? You know, how can we address it? How can we intercept it? How can we educate people that are coming through now? You know, it's like Google. Google give their employees days off to be creative and to learn things. Google understand wellness and well-being principles and how good that is for people to belong to something that's bigger than just a business machine. It's like here, you know, we talked earlier about, you know, it's sort of family, you know what I mean? And people want to belong. And so that creates sustainability. Not only retention, but it creates sustainability.
And look, the thing is, I always say, I think key to everything in life is for us to be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm blessed that I got a lot of cars, but they mean nothing if you're an unhappy individual.
That's right.
If you're burned, because if you are burned out and if you're mentally exhausted, trust me, there's no difference between riding a bicycle and sitting in a nice car.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be hating the car and everything around you if you're not a happy individual.
That's exactly right. It's like you said off camera. You said 2 years ago you sort of thought, you know, you just shared before as well, and you sort of saw the light.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I was before a racing horse.
But most people don't do that. Most people don't do it. Why? Men in particular. Why? Because their ego is bigger than their purpose. Yeah.
Interesting you mention ego. In industry where you are heavily involved in, real estate, ego sometimes gets in the way from people really to see reality of what's important. People are chasing things that are really meaningless. And I often think that a lot of people do things not for themselves, for others to see. Hey, I drive a Mercedes or BMW or Ferrari or whatever. I'm going to do that. I'm going to buy this so other people can think something of me. And to them, it's almost more important what others think of them than what they actually think and feel themselves. You know, I'm a massive believer. And I also saying that, I always say females and women are better leaders than men because they don't have that issue of ego. They put it aside. How do we balance our ego? How do we get rid of the ego, really? I think there's a good ego is being confident, but then there's a being ego that can really damage you. How do you manage that?
Yeah. I think when you love yourself
Yes.
and you're confident in yourself, you don't have to prove yourself anymore.
Correct.
You still have ambition, you still have goals, you still have targets, you still have things that you want to do, but you're not doing those to fill a hole inside yourself.
Yes.
You're doing those because it's something you love to do, you're passionate about, it has a purpose to it.
Yes.
There's meaning and there's fulfillment associated with it. It's a natural reaction to living and experiencing your existence. But when your ego's involved and you're trying to please other people and you're trying to get somewhere to prove a point or to make it or to have something, that's just filling a void inside yourself.
Yes, yes.
Because most people get there, studies show us, and they're not happy. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
It's not the money and doing that that's the problem. That gets blamed all the time. Oh, money is me. That's great. But it's the attitude that's behind it. It's the intention behind it.
Yes.
It's that, hang on a second, there's something that's not complete about me unless I have this or do this, yeah? There's an inadequacy about me if I'm not at this level, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Or I haven't reached there, or I don't have this or that. And it's a curse for men in particular.
Yes.
But if we just stopped and had a bit of compassion and a bit of kindness and a bit of acceptance within ourselves, and as the Buddhists say, if we detached from outcomes and let go of the outcome, the outcome's great, we'll get it, we'll do it, but if we were in this present sort of moment, we'd have a greater experience. We'd be less stressed and anxious and under pressure because of that. Wayne Dyer talks about ambition to meaning.
Yes.
And he says we spend our life in ambition, go, 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 go. And very few of us get to the point where we move into meaning.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
Your experience 2 years ago was a moment of ambition to meaning.
Yes.
And nothing wrong with ambition, but when it's done the wrong way and you stay in it for the rest of your life, you do burn out. It's not sustainable. It does have an impact.
It's not just burnout, that even, for example, till 2 years ago, I'm so focused on work, financially getting richer, whatever you want to call it, but fucking time is passing.
Yeah.
And you don't have time to lift your head up and actually see, oh my God, I need to actually smell the roses or smell this air. It's just working almost without meaning.
Yeah.
It is.
It's mindless.
It's mindless. It's
driven
just working.
by a society that says this is
Correct.
what you do.
Correct. Being 57, which you don't fucking look like it. Being 57, looking back at life, what would you say is a recipe for happy life?
I reckon work out what happiness is, first of all. See, I've gone from pleasure to happiness to contentment.
Yes.
So everything in my life was about pleasure.
Yes.
Like pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. But if life is about pleasure, then it's predicated on something good happening all the time.
Yes.
That's nuts. So people become addicted to drugs because it feels good, it feels good, it feels good, it's good pleasure, or sex, or ice creams, or chocolate, cars, whatever. It's pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. So I realised after a while that's not fulfilling.
Yes.
And then I thought happiness. I've got to find happiness. What's happiness? Well, I'll meditate. Is that happiness? I'll just spend good time with people. If I'm laughing, if I feel good, then I'm happy.
Yes.
That sort of was like pleasure. I had to go finding it. Yeah. Contentment, I don't have to look for.
Yes.
I don't have to find content. It's there. It's just there. I have to question it. I don't have to describe it. I don't have to understand it. I just know it. It's just
And
there.
also, it's really peace.
It's just there. Peace, contentment.
Yes.
And so my journey has been from the pleasure to the happiness to the contentment.
Yes.
And I can just sort of go, I don't need a reference point for
I
happiness.
feel like you can breathe.
I am. I'm just, here we are. I'm content. I don't need anything now. I don't want anything now. There's nothing that's going to sustain my life any more than just being here. Now, of course, I engage in things and my mind goes out of that space into other things. But when I come back to my center, I come back to contentment. Yes. Contentment doesn't require me to find pleasure or happiness in anything. Yes. Contentment is just being where I am, when I am, and who I am. Less complicated.
I love it. Being 57, and there's somebody over there that is 20 years old.
Yeah.
And there's a brutal world in front of him. Living is not easy.
Yeah.
Working is not easy. Starting a business is not easy. There is a whole life in front of the person.
Yeah.
What is one advice you can give them?
Well, first of all, we change that story straight away. Yeah. So the story they have that that's the case, I would get them to change.
Yes.
No, there's not a hard life ahead. There's a wonderful life ahead. There's
Yes.
a life of opportunity. There's a life of possibility. There's a
love
life
that.
of growth. There's so many gifts waiting for you. There's so many abundant pleasures waiting for you. Not airy-fairy dancing in the sky.
Yes.
You know, the reality is we choose our direction. We choose our life. And sometimes it might be what we call hard, but I think that's more of a gift than anything else. So if they're in that space, or even if they're watching and you're an adult and you're in that space, again, it's your story, you know. I told myself stories for 40 plus years, and I still tell myself stories sometimes. But what I've tried to do is rewrite the book.
Yes.
So
I love that.
So the chapters are different. It's my story. I'm going to tell it, good or bad. I don't want to talk about what doesn't serve me anymore.
Yes,
I don't want to read a chapter on what happened and what didn't work and what's not going to work and how society is this and that. That story's gone. The story now in front of me is, you know, it's like, it's almost toxic positiveness, you know. I don't buy into the model of, you know, the world is a bad place and it's tough and it's hard and it's a struggle and it's going to be difficult starting a business. I don't buy into that anymore. I did. I'm not any better than anyone who doesn't, but that's just where I'm at.
Ah, great.
Just the way I roll now. It's like, fuck that. I open up my eyes and go, here we go. Let's do this, you know? And everything I have is not predicated, or everything I am inside of my experience isn't predicated on what I have anymore.
Are you a believer of people should do what they're passionate about and what they love doing?
Oh yeah, this is a number one thing for me.
Which is interesting. Every time if I'm driving one of my nice cars, and first thing young kids would ask me, what do you do for living? Because they think, okay, if you can drive nice car, and if you're doing real estate or whatever the profession is, I'm going to go and do that. So a lot of people are chasing somebody else's dream,
Correct.
not their own.
Correct.
So you 100% believe that chase your own fucking...
There's the life by design, not default quadrant that I work on. What means the most to you? What are you the most passionate about? What is your purpose and what fulfills you the most?
Yes.
Answer those questions and live that.
Yes.
And your life will be an incredible experience.
Yes.
They're the four areas. So I'm dialed into what means the most to me. I'm not going to spend my time on things that don't mean the most to me. It doesn't matter how much money's attached to it or status or reward. I don't give a fuck.
Yes. That's all meaningless if you're not freaking happy. And
I want to. What's important to me today? It's important to come to here and talk to you. It's important to see my partner. It's important to play with my dog. It's important to pick my guitar up. You know, what means the most to me? It's important to make a difference. Passion, what am I passionate about? What's my purpose? What fulfills me the most? If I stay in those quadrants, I'm the happiest, I'm the most content, fulfilled person I can ever be. As soon as I drift out of those, I'm an unhappy, stressed, pressured, tense, tight, judgmental arsehole of a person. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to have that energy. I want to understand what energy works for me. It might be different for you, different for other people, but I know what energy works for me. And that energy is predicated on a line in the sand that says no compromise. Yeah? As
100%.
soon as I compromise, I fall out of those quadrants. As long as I stay in my lane, in my zone, what am I built for? What do I work best at? What are my strengths? What floats my boat? What fucking gets me up in the morning? If I stay there, it doesn't matter what I got or what I have or what's around me. I'm in my zone, my energetic zone. I'm living. Yeah? The rest is a bonus.
I'm excited that I'm enjoying this conversation, but I'm excited that all of One Life Club members will have access to you. So there will be obviously your details on the site where people can bug you and steal more of your time. Get in line, because Jet is actually starting to now train all of our teams throughout NGU group. Now, I always say, today is the day that we never lived before.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't let myself stress. I don't let myself waste my day. Even, look, the reality is we all deal with shit on a daily basis. Not everything goes our way. But one of the discussions that we have throughout this interview was, constantly focus, okay, even if there is a shit, focus on solutions instead of beating yourself up with the problem that you're having. Now, why should people have mentor performance coach? How important is to have somebody like you in their corner?
Yeah.
I always describe it, this is my opinion, even professional tennis player, boxer, any professional athlete, and in business, I'm a professional athlete in my own field, I might not play tennis, it is always good that we have somebody in a corner that we can talk to. Because specifically in business, it's a fucking lonely place. Quite often, only person you have that you can talk to is yourself, really, in the mirror, because you're just running your own race. So I think importance of having not just performance coach, somebody that can listen and also give you their advice from their perspective, I think is crucial, because we don't see everything. We only see things with our own eyes and not from the sideline. So I think having performance coach really to keep you accountable and the right path is just so crucial. Doesn't matter what we do.
Well, I know from asking my clients, why do they source me out as a mentor or a coach? There's a couple of reasons. If you're in business, all your business should be built on best practice. Yep.
Yes.
So what is the best practice for other businesses globally that are doing what you're doing? If you're not doing that, you're not in business. You're not playing a big game. So having a coach in business is best practice.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer, right? The other thing is, you need someone in your corner who doesn't care what you think if they tell you what they think.
Yes.
Yeah? Like, I don't care what you think.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you what I think, right?
Yes.
Your opinion, I respect it, but
this is what I feel.
This is what I fucking think.
Yes.
You know, this is what I think. Yes. So a coach has the ability, they're separate from all the noise and family and the vibe and dynamic you're in the business, to go fucking, hey, this is how I see it.
Yes.
Yeah? So that's the second thing. The third thing is, a coach is there to see what you don't see. Yeah?
Yes.
So it's almost like watching you play on the field and go, hey, did you notice that? What if you try this? How about you do that? How about you fix this? But the main thing I think people come to me from a mentor point of view is because they want to get better at being a human.
Yes.
Better humans, better business.
Yes.
Better human, better relationships. Better human, better finance. Better human, better parenting. Better human, better health.
What is one thing high performance have in common?
I was just thinking about it before when you were talking. I think the one thing is they don't give up. Yeah? They've got this tenacity, there's this resilience about them. And there was an interesting study about tenacity and resilience where they thought that people that got through special ops training were strong and smart and from great families and all that type of stuff. And the study showed that they weren't the type of people that got through special ops training. The people that got through were just normal people. But normal people who just didn't give up. Whatever the situation, you got up, kept going. Got up, kept going.
What does never give up means to Jet?
It means turning up, day in and day out, regardless of what's going on around me, yeah?
Yes.
It's not going, oh, nah, fuck, don't want to deal with that today. Oh, good day, yeah, I'll have some of this.
Yes.
It's being consistent in turning up to whatever's coming at me on a day-to-day
Yes.
basis, yeah? Not having a day off, avoiding that, getting out of the way. And that comes back to being decisive. One of my fatal mindsets, you know, these are the things that I work on. One of my fatal mindsets sometimes is indecision.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have to work on hammering decisiveness. Yeah. Pulling the trigger, as I call it. Keep pulling the trigger. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. The more times I do that, the less indecisive I am.
I enjoy this.
It's great.
And I look forward to actually
Part
more
two.
talk. You know what? It's not part two. I look forward to. I actually look forward to you being part of my own business, not to be greedy. For you guys that are watching this, you obviously have access to Jet as well. I actually look forward to you being part of my own company and people that are within our own business. A lot to learn, and
Likewise.
I already feel like you have brainwashed me in a great way to do things differently and better. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you
I
so
definitely
much.
look forward to more.
Thank you so much.